Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Williamsburg Resist. Yes! Can we get a round of applause? So, today we are probably not going to have as many people here because there is an event happening in London. It was a horrific event, the tornado. So we're going to keep moving on today. We've given everyone enough time to get here. I had multiple messages stating that there will be several people missing, but that's all right. We're going to keep moving. So I am the first speaker on the list today, and my speech today is basically the necessity for us to be out in the community, serving the community as the human beings that we are. And I myself have served in Laurel County in London, Kentucky every single day since the disaster started. I've been there every day. Humanity seems to have forgotten most of us, specifically those of us who are minorities. And I will not forget the people who have chosen to forgive me. Okay? With that being said, I'm going to welcome up the next speaker, Miss Adrian.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with y'all today. Hopefully the wind won't mess with my pictures. At the rally in Corbin, I gave my first speech. And it was about how this administration doesn't care about people with disabilities. It's a topic that's very close to my heart. But today, I want to talk to everyone here about another topic close to my heart. What is a community? The textbook definition is a group of people who share common interests and values, have a sense of fellowship with others, and generally live in the same place. It's also groups of people who share a common bond, like the LGBTQ+ community. That seems simple enough, but community is deeper than that. Community is unity. Community is inclusion. Community is diversity. Community is empathy. Community is accessibility. Community is loving your neighbor as you love yourself. Amen. For the Christians here today, Jesus did not tell us to love our neighbor only if they are white. Only if they are straight, only if they subscribe to the belief that there are only two genders, only if they're U.S. citizens, only if they're able-bodied and therefore a productive member of society, or only if they're above the poverty level.
Give it to us.
Mark 12:30-31 says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul, and with all your mind and all your strength." The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. The marginalized, the downtrodden, the oppressed are more likely than anyone I've ever known to fulfill this commandment because they more than anyone else know what it's like to not be loved by their neighbors. In fact, the reason why we have Black History Month, Pride, Autism Acceptance Month, and many other days and months dedicated to marginalized communities is because they have been hurt so bad, hated so much, and oppressed by their neighbors so much that they had to come together in the first place. By coming together, by fighting to be seen and heard, by fighting for the right to exist and strive for the same life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that we are all guaranteed in our nation's Bill of Rights, they each have proclaimed that we are here. We deserve the same inalienable rights as everyone else. And your words, your hate, and your actions will not change the fact that we deserve love, peace, and happiness. There are people who go to church on Sunday and they type out thoughts and prayers whenever there's a story about a school shooting or a natural disaster. They're the same people who say that they practice what Jesus preached. But they don't love their neighbors as they would themselves. They are practicing what Christian nationalism preaches. But you know who doesn't do that? The marginalized communities. I'm going to tell you a story. When I was 18 years old, I moved to Louisville to go to school. Back then, Corbin was very predominantly white. Anyone who was gay kept in the closet, and forget about coming out as trans. All the special ed kids. When you grow up in the Bible Belt, especially this area, it's like you're living in a fishbowl with the same type of fish. You don't realize that there's a whole big world out there where there are so many different types of people. Growing up in Corbin, people would judge me for my weight, judge me for the way I dressed, judge me for how poor I was, judge me for who my family was. They even judged me for being a redhead. No joke. One girl said that her mom said she couldn't hang out with me because redheads are satanic. You know who never judged me? My LGBTQ friends, my black friends, my neurodivergent friends. They welcomed me with open arms. They told me I was perfect just as I am. They told me I was worthy of love. They became my community when the community I grew up in rejected me. They became my chosen family. I have never met anyone from a marginalized community that practices hate, but I have met a ton of people from the religious community that do. It is exactly the opposite of what Jesus taught. John 8:7-11 says, "So when they continued asking him, he lifted himself up and said unto them, He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone." I don't believe that it is a sin to be LGBTQ+. But for the sake of argument, if you do believe that, who are you to judge? Have you no sins? Furthermore, Matthew 7 says, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured against you." So in essence, the Bible that Christians love to nitpick for their various agendas is telling them that they are hypocrites for judging others and throwing the first stone. It's not your job to judge what anyone else is doing, and it's not your business. It is your job to love them, though. It is your job to care about people, even the people who are different from you. In fact, there are over 100 Bible verses about it, including Colossians 3:12. "Put on them as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience." My mama told me from an early age that if we were all the same, the world would be a very boring place. Elementary school taught me that in the United States is a melting pot for the world. It also taught me that other cultures dreamt of immigrating here to experience the American dream. Sunday school taught me that Jesus loves all the children of the world. Mr. Rogers taught me that these are the people in my neighborhood, and they all deserve love, because that's what it is to be a community. Finally, I want to say this. This past weekend saw one of the worst natural disasters in Kentucky history. And as you all know, it was in our own backyard. For the past week, many of us have been volunteering in London and Somerset. Communities from all over have come together to help the people who have lost everything. Out of total destruction, we have seen unity, perseverance, courage, hope, love, strength, understanding, and faith. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, who we love, our gender, our socioeconomic background, if we have disabilities or anything else. It only matters that we're here for each other, helping one another, and that's how it should be every day, not just when tragedy strikes.
My name is Andrew, a proud co-organizer, and welcome to KY Resist, a movement born from love, rage, and the unshakable belief in justice. We are here because we believe in the dignity of every human life. That belief is not just an idea, it is a demand, and under this rising tide of authoritarianism, that demand is more urgent than ever. We are watching as the Trump movement brings war on the very idea of inclusion. This is an assault on DEI, on civil rights, on the right to exist without fear. Under the Trump administration, DEI programs are being gutted across America. They're scrubbing out Black history from classrooms. They're banning books that affirm queer and trans kids. They're targeting schools, workplaces, and communities where equity was just beginning to bloom, trying to rip those roots out of the ground. And why? Because they are afraid of a world where we are all seen, where we all thrive. But let me tell you this, we are not going anywhere. When trans people are banned from health care, we fight. When immigrants are demonized and detained, we fight. When women's bodies are legislated, we fight. When children are being shot in schools and the government decides to do nothing about it, we fight. Because it's not just policy, it is survival. And let's talk about survival. Unfortunately, this month, a devastating tornado tore through London, Kentucky, destroying homes, displacing families, and taking the lives of many. And earlier this year, President Trump proposed a $646 million reduction to FEMA's budget. He shifted disaster response to states and canceled FEMA's strategic plan. All of this was part of Trump's Project 2025 agenda, which is currently affecting people's lives here in the state of Kentucky and in all states around the world. And that is the cost of cruelty. But we are here to protect each other. We are here to support natural disaster relief. We are here to fight for equality for all, affordable health care, affordable child care, and paid family leave. We want to create a world of opportunity and prosperity to the middle class by decreasing poverty rates, keeping the Department of Education, enforcing gun restriction laws, endorsing red flag laws, and banning assault weapons. We stand for the freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. We stand for the freedom for a woman to do what she chooses with her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. We stand for trans people who deserve to feel free and safe walking on the streets and not have to worry about what someone will do to them for being trans. We all stand together for the promise of America. And Williamsburg, I want to leave you with this quote from Martin Luther King Jr. and Kamala Harris. Only when it is dark enough can you see the stars. Well, my friends, I am here to tell you we are the stars, and we together will light up the sky. Thank you, and God bless you all. And with that, I will hand it back to Luke.
Wow, what an amazing speech, Andrew. So I also want to add that the entire state of Kentucky is 1.25 million people on Medicare, Medicaid. And we just found out again, I'm going to keep saying this all night long, that Medicare, Medicaid has been cut by the Trump administration and the GOP. Next up will be Tammy. Tammy, come on up.
So I had a speech written out. But last night I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw that Trump was going to cut nearly 14 million people's Medicaid and Medicare. Back in 2019, my mom got really sick. She was in ICU for a week. She was on life support for 3 days, and we did not know if she was going to make it off of life support. With that being said, if she did not have Medicaid, she would have died. We would have had my mom here today. If Trump were to cut this, people will lose their family. People will lose their mom. People will lose their father. And many more people will die. It was heartbreaking hearing that my mom was in the hospital and that we had to go spend a week in Pikeville because she had been flew out because she was about to die on us. We did not have the money to cover her medical bills. If it was not for her Medicaid, we would have not been able to support what she needed. So with that being said, please fight for Medicare and Medicaid. So that way, more people can have their mom and more people don't have to be scared when their family members go into the hospital. And then maybe they won't make it out, maybe they will, but if they have Medicaid, they'll get the treatment they need. Thank you.
I love you so much. So one of the things that's so important that we remember specifically in areas like this, without Medicare, Medicaid, there's going to be hundreds, thousands of jobs that are going to be lost because Medicare, Medicaid is the #1 funder for all of your doctors, your practitioners, your nurses, every facility that has been made available to every person in this county and in every county in the state of Kentucky, but more specifically in the poorer counties in the state of Kentucky. So when you don't have Medicare, Medicaid paying these bills, those doctors' offices are going to close. Your sons and daughters that went to school to be nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, those jobs are going to be unnecessary, and they'll be removed, and they'll be going back getting paid minimum amount of wages for their jobs. So if you want to lose your children's much needed pay, keep supporting a man that's taking away Medicare, Medicaid, and you're going to get exactly what you voted for. Next up is Miss Aria.
You got this, Aria.
Come on.
My notes right here. Hi, welcome everyone. I'm Aria. I guess I'm also an organizer now. That's crazy. All these talks about Medicare and Medicaid, alongside with SNAP, is going to be cut with the big beautiful bill that was passed yesterday in the House. It's supposed to save money, but somehow 3.8 trillion is being added to the deficit. After all of with tens of
You got this.
So I lost my place where I was reading. With SNAP cuts and Medicare, tens of millions of people will suffer. Many use SNAP as.
You got this, Aria.
Sorry. They also want to set the age for COVID vaccines to 65, and with people with certain health conditions. Another thing, along with the Medicare cuts, is the cuts to trans healthcare. Thank you. As one of the clauses in the bill, whatever. It says to cut Medicaid support for Planned Parenthood, and as well as the Affordable Care Act will be removed for things like trans healthcare and whatever thing else like Planned Parenthood. So that includes abortions and like all of that, just women's healthcare, trans people's healthcare, everyone, and just the millions of people that will suffer from Medicare being cut. It's horrifying. Growing up in Appalachia, we definitely know, like, someone here has a family member or someone that they know that's close to them who is on these programs, like SNAP, EBT, whatever, food stamps. Yeah, the first of the month is always, like, a great time for, like, lower income families. They get to go and get the things they need and have a chance to have a nice dinner. Yeah, and they want to cut this. I don't get it. It seems how they're just so suffering when they say they want to save money. This one a little long. Sorry. Also, the Department of Education was set to be dismantled yesterday. There was an executive order, and that got blocked by a judge, luckily. But the big mutual bill is still, it's supposed to pass the Senate. It has passed the House, and yeah, that's kind of like the big worry. Support Medicare, Medicaid, everyone, anyone. We all have to stand up and fight.
Yes.
I'm gonna do the mic back. Here you go. Thank you.
Aria, I'm so proud of you. Every time you do this, you're getting stronger and more powerful. I love you. And the information, was that not amazing?
Yes.
Everyone have Miss Bobby. Look at them legs.
Thank you, Dr. Bobby Glass, and I am so glad to be here. Thank everybody for coming out. I don't want to talk about politics, really don't. I want to talk to you about something that's much deeper, cuts so much more deeply than politics. I just want to talk about the lives that we are living, the future that we're building, and the leaders that we chose to trust all of that to, the lives we're building and the future that we're building. I want to speak from the heart tonight, not as a politician, not even as a Democrat or a Republican, but as a fellow American, someone else who was born here in Appalachia. It's someone who knows what it's like to worry about a sick child or aging parents, to hope the car doesn't break down because you needed to get to work, to wonder if your job will still be there next year, and sit at the kitchen table doing math to figure out if you're going to be able to go to the doctor or buy groceries this week, but not both. These are the things that matter, not the noise, not the headlines, real life, real struggles. And here's the hard truth. Too many of our leaders in Washington and Frankfurt have forgotten that. Or worse, they've just abandoned it. Because here's the truth. The people here in Southeastern Kentucky are some of the hardest working folks in this country. You wake up early, you go to work, you take care of your families, you help your neighbors, you work 12-hour days when there's a tornado in just the next town over. You deserve leaders who work just as hard as you do. Leaders who show up, not just when there's a ribbon to cut, but when there's a crisis to solve. Instead, what have we seen? Since 2017, we've watched as billionaires got tax breaks they didn't need, while working families were just tightening your belts. We've seen protections stripped away, clean water regulations, worker safety rules, our access to affordable health care, and women's rights to determine what's best for their own bodies. The guardrails that keep our communities strong, people safe, have been torn down one by one. We've watched our public schools go under attack, our roads are crumbling, emergency services are stretched thin, all while the richest and most powerful to see a doctor without going through it. It's not your child's freedom to get a world-class education. It's not your freedom to earn a decent wage and retire with some dignity. They say the right words, but they don't live your reality. And here's the most dangerous part. They're counting on you to stay quiet. They're counting on you to stay at home on the right. They're hoping that you'll believe you're powerless, that there's nothing that you can do, nothing that you can change. But they are so wrong. Because we can't change it. And we are changing it. We will change it. So, maybe I should just live it for other people. We do that with our voices, and we do that with our votes, and we do it by organizing not just for one day, but every day, until the people in power realize they work for us. When I was a kid, there was a thing called a public servant. Everybody who was paid with taxpayer dollars was a public servant. And it has been a really long time since I met somebody who is a true public servant. But that's what we elected them to serve us. So I'm asking you this evening, not just to nod your head, I'm asking you to act. Make sure you're registered to vote. Make sure your neighbors are registered to vote. With the same act that they're trying to pass, and you've got to go show up for registration, you're going to need a birth certificate that matches your name on your driver's license. When you're a woman and you take the name of your husband, that's really going to mess up those birth records. So all of that stuff is intended to keep women subjugated. And I need you to understand that everything. I still remember when women, until 1974, that was not that long ago, 50 years ago, women could get credit cards, they could get a bank account, they couldn't rent an apartment, they couldn't buy a car, they couldn't go to the bank and take out a loan without getting their father or a husband or somebody beside them. That was just 50 years ago. And the demonizing, oh, you can't take moms out of the home, they're supposed to stay home, they're pregnant, that's what you're there for. No, we can't put them in the workforce. And now, I'm sure a lot of you know women who are the main breadwinners in your home. So, I want everybody to show up for election days, whether it's local, state, or federal, because they all matter. Volunteer, knock on doors, talk to your family and your friends. I want people to think about running for the school board, or the city council, or a seat in our General Assembly. I was talking with some people from the ACLU. In Kentucky, we had 39 legislative districts where Republicans ran unopposed. Nobody else was on the ballot. And that has got to change. And just so you know, there's 100 seats in the House of Representatives, 40 in the Senate. 140 people are making all the regular rules and then turn around and send the bill to us. Maybe worst of all, we've been told to blame each other. Immigrants, teachers, LGBTQ people, city dwellers, rural people, anyone but the people who are actually holding the power. When it just comes, just look at how we've been played over the transgender. 0.6% of the population is transgender. Less than 1%. And they have focused all of this demonizing stuff on that 1%. When it's the 1% up there at the top, they're the ones that are ruining your life. No, exactly. No, it's not the trans people. So, maybe worst of all, that's not leadership. That's betrayal. It's not integrity. It's intentional deception. And I think that's the thing that bothers me the most, because they know it's all a lie. We've seen our state legislators voting to kill DEI programs that help rural students, first-generation college kids, single moms, veterans, and working families to get a fair chance at a better life. That wasn't some abstract policy. It was a punch in the gut to people right here in Williamsburg. All this area, really. We're trying to climb up the ladder. We've seen health care cost rises, wages stall, and our roads and schools fall behind all. The people who are supposed to represent us are chasing headlines and culture wars instead of rolling up their sleeves. They'll tell you it's about protecting freedom. But ask yourself, whose freedom are they protecting? Tell me again, who's that? Because it's not
Medicare, Medicaid. $26 million Trump has spent on himself since his election. Yet he is taking everyone's Medicare, Medicaid. Has no problem with that, but your tax dollars are going for him to go golfing. $26 million worth. But we don't want to buy diapers. We don't want to pay for children to get milk. That's a very sad story. What did you say, sis? Or a parade. Or a parade. We don't want to pay for his damn parades.
No, we don't.
Next up is the fabulous Mr. Chris Preach, by the way.
Y'all know I'm not getting back. Get it. Come on.
First and foremost, what's up, Williamsburg? Come on, y'all can get louder now. I do not like it when it's quiet. Come on, one more time. What's up, Williamsburg? That's a little bit better. So, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Corbin, Kentucky, with the same group, and I said a phrase that had a lot of meaning to me. And today I'm going to say it again, and every time I say it, I want you guys to repeat it back to me, and that is, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
Exactly. One more time. Let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
Exactly. Now, when I was in Corbin,
I talked about what that phrase meant, kind of in general, what it meant to us as a community. Today I'm going to break down a little bit. Today I'm going to talk about what that phrase means to me personally. You see, growing up, I was different. I was that freak that sat by himself in the lunchroom. I was that nerd sitting in a dark basement playing Dungeons and Dragons. Who am I kidding? I'm still that nerd sitting in a basement playing Dungeons and Dragons. Actually, now we play in a library. What? D&D rocks. D&D rocks, exactly. You know, I questioned growing up what it is to be normal. And you know what? A lot of people don't like when you question what's normal. And to them I say, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
Now, I was raised in a Pentecostal church. I think, Sarah, you talked about how you were last time. Me and Sarah got some stuff in common there. In the church I was raised, it was a place where you had to dress a certain way. It's a place where you had to look a certain way. You had to act a certain way. They told you what jobs the church allowed you to take. They told you what foods were acceptable to eat. And they told you how to spend your free time. They claimed that they were inclusive. But if you were different, if you weren't their definition of normal, then you were condemned. And to every person in that church sitting in Hiram, Kentucky, and to everybody that's going through that right now across not just Kentucky, but through the world, I say, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
Now, I was raised by my father and my grandparents. My grandmother, let me tell you, I talk about her quite a bit. She was the most loving person I'd ever met in my life. She's been gone way too long. My grandpa, he loved me too, but he feared every time I brought up something that did not fit the mold. Every time I disagreed with his conservative beliefs, he changed from the person I loved and became violent. When I was forced to make a choice when it came to my grandfather. He was to conform or to stand up, face him face to face, and make him uncomfortable. And I say to him watching down on me right now, and everybody out there, to let people like that, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
That's right. I chose to stand up. And you know, I wish 20, 30 years ago, I would have had a group just like this. People that would accept me for who I am. People who don't judge, who don't ask me to conform. Because all those other people, I just want to say, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
Now, I know a lot of us, we've been talking today about my new book coming out June 1st. But, thank you. But it was about 5 years ago, I wrote a book called One Last Quest. That was the first book I'd ever published. I spent 2 years writing this book. The main character in the book is a woman named Michelle. She was a transgender woman who was rejected by her family, only to be rebuilt and even built even higher by her gaming group, which was her chosen family. To anyone who would try to tear her down, to anybody that tries to tear any of you down, I'm going to say it again, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
Come on. Now here's a little thing about when that book came out. I'm never going to forget this. This was September of 2020. I'm sitting at a friend's house. I had posted some videos of me cosplaying as Michelle because I was going through my own identity crisis of whether I was male or female. And then I got a phone call from my birth mother, the person that gave birth to me. And she said, you know what, Chris, I'm ashamed of you. I raised a boy, not a girl. I said, you don't know what I am. I said, if you knew what I am, you would understand my story, and you don't. For anybody that's went through that, let me hear you. scream out, because I haven't spoken to my birth mother since. And to people like that, I say, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
When I started doing drag, people looked at me. I was a professional wrestler who chose to wear a dress. That got people scared. When I laid in a hospital bed because I had an ex, who was female, by the way, that tried mercilessly to kill me, slipping pills in my food, attacking me when she knew that I wouldn't fight back. When I told people my story there, they didn't want to believe me because you know what? They were uncomfortable. When I nearly died, literally weeks after the Affordable Care Act went into effect, and the Affordable Care Act, if I didn't have it, I wouldn't have went to the hospital. It saved my life. And you know what? There's people in the opposition, they don't like hearing that. They don't want to know that the Affordable Care Act saved my life. When I came out and told people I was pansexual, well, first of all, I got a lot of questions about what a pan has to do with anything, but once I explained it, people told me it's just a phase, you'll get over it. And when I wanted to live, not being who they wanted me to be, but being who in my heart I truly am, that scared them worse than anything. And to them I say, let them be uncomfortable.
Let them be uncomfortable.
And now, at that speech in Corbin, I've heard some of you echo that phrase. I heard Sarah tell me how much that phrase meant to me, or meant to her, I'm sorry. Aria, one thing I want to say right now, when you came up here a few minutes ago, I was so proud of you.
Thank you.
I remember last time in Corbin, you were scared to death.
Yeah, everyone had to.
But you even came up to me and said, I want to start making them uncomfortable because I'm tired of being uncomfortable. So I'm going to ask all of you guys, join with me. Come stand with, come here, Lou. Come here. We're all going to say it together one last time. Anybody that wants to walk up, walk up. Because I want to say it so loud, I want that big orange Cheeto to crap his pants. Come on. Anybody that wants to, come join. Lou, you going to say it with me? Come on. Everybody, we'll let Bobby get up here 1 second. We got a couple on this side. All right, one last time on 1, 2, 3.
Let them be uncomfortable.
Thank you, Williamsburg, Kentucky, and as I always say, until you speak again, may all of your adventures be epic and your roles be critical.
That's right. I love you.
Oh, I love you.
I love you so much. Such a good human.
Watch it, girl.
Well, you know I ain't up here to go man, okay? I want to say hello to my two best friends who just came, Tamara and Charles Kimball. They have been with me since the beginning. And I actually was with them on their first date. How crazy is that? And they have been married for how long?
30 years in about 2 or 3 weeks.
I told Charlie I've had her longer than he has. So I'm now going to welcome up the beautiful, incomparable. Oh, you need a drink of water. Gotta get them wet, honey. That's right. This is my beautiful sister, Miss Hillary Creech. Everyone give her a hand. Okay, I prepared a speech, but I've decided I'm going to let you all know who I am, my story. I'm in my 60s. I'm proud of it. I think I've held up pretty well. Thank you, God. But when I come into this world, I was born a hermaphrodite. And I didn't know this until I was 30 years old. Because my dad was military. He was a drill sergeant in the Marine Corps, Paris Island. We traveled all over the world, Germany, England, Okinawa. I have 2 older brothers. Well, back then, they didn't ask parents, what do you want to do? In the 60s,
they did what was easiest. So they flew me to Cincinnati Children's Hospital, and I was made a male, which all my life I felt like I was female. Everybody thought I was female.
You are.
And, well, I know. I'm telling the story as, chronologically. But then, after my mother passed away, I was 21. And for years, then at 30, one of her friends came in and said, I just come by to see you, said I wanted to know how you're doing. Said, your mother blamed herself for your life. And I thought, how odd. Why would my mother blame herself? And it was because she felt like she needed to let me grow and decide for myself. And the one person I thought that would protect me and was there for me has lied to me my entire life. And it was hard, so hard. And but then I had to get a court order to get my own records, medical records from Cincinnati. And when I confronted my father, he said, well, if I knew you were going to turn out like this, I wouldn't have bothered.
Boo!
So I didn't speak for 17 years to my father, because I didn't need a daddy. I needed somebody to be there for me as a friend and to help me heal, because I didn't know what to do. I was raised Irish Catholic. You want to add that in the spot, that really helps. I had my first surgery of that when I was born, but I've had 19 surgeries because I have a congenital bone disorder that my bones break down very quickly. And since I was got married to Chris, and that's the one thing that's happened in my life that I thank God for. My one brother that I love dearly, and I still love him, hasn't spoken to me till about a week ago. And that's been 3 years. And we live in the same town. I've been a hairdresser for 40 years. I was a drag queen for 7. I'm Miss Bronze Knoxville, Miss Tri-Cities. And I loved it. I'm a DJ at WMMT. It's the Lift Up Lounge with the Sassy Redhead. And it's about empowerment. It's about uplifting. It's about knowing who you are. And you are beautiful the way God made you. There's nothing wrong with you. And if I can say that to one child, it makes them feel it. It's worth everything to me. So, Trump, kiss my ass. Not on the left side, not on the right side, but in the groove. And I say to everyone, get involved. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love yourself most of all. When you look in that mirror, God made you exactly the way you're supposed to be, and you are beautiful, and you are unique, each and every one of you.
That's right.
And I love all my friends, sisters, and I love everyone here. And I just don't want anything ugly, negative to come out of me. I always want it to be uplifting, kind, generous, and humble. And so I thank you for your time. And beautiful Miss Sarah.
Sarah is another bloomer. She's getting stronger and stronger every time she gets on a stage. So here we go.
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm a proud trans woman. I'm also a proud Christian as well. Some people like to say that's not a possibility, but it is. And that's who I am. And if you can be who you want to be, if you can judge me for being who I am, if you can say that I don't exist, I can step into a church and pray to God. Because we have the right to do that, me and you both, each and every one of us. You know, I struggle a lot with depression and anxiety, and it's really hard to the point that where it got so bad to where earlier this week, it got to a point to where I didn't even know if I was going to be able to stand on this stage today, but I am, and that's thanks to my God. He gives me the strength to speak, He gives me the strength to go out and do everything I do, and if it wasn't for God, I could not exist. He's been an integral point in my life since I grew up. Like Chris mentioned, I grew up in a Pentecostal church, so at one point in time I believed a lot differently than I do now, but that's okay because we're allowed to grow. That's part of life. But one of the important things that I learned even growing up through reading the Bible is that God loves each and every one of us. One of the scriptures in the Bible is that said He knew us before we were created in our mother's womb. And that's one of the biggest verses I cling to, because God knew me as Sarah before I even knew I was Sarah. God knew me exactly how I am now before any of her things. So let's not focus on what we don't understand about people and try to ask questions why. Just trust that they are following the path that their higher power wants, because you know what? We all can have different higher powers. That's up to us and how we feel and how we feel connected. That's part of what our Constitution allows. It allows that freedom of religion. And we can't hold people accountable for our own religions. If you want to believe that there's only two genders, then you believe that, but don't affect me trying to live my life. We have a Constitution for a reason, and it's to protect our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And if my happiness would stop somebody else from being happy, that's one thing. But me being myself is not preventing somebody else from living their happy life. But you trying to create laws like this big, beautiful bill that's trying to take away our health care by saying that they don't want the federal government to pay for anything to do. That doesn't just affect Medicaid, that affects the marketplace plans, which people actually pay money into. So stuff that people are paying for, they're not allowed to even get their medicine on. And a lot of it is written so vaguely that they may even try to stop trans people from getting any sort of medical care at all. And we have to stand up together and be right in our politicians and not let them even have a time to think or sleep or relax. We have to keep them uncomfortable or they will never change.
Exactly. Right there.
One thing I've learned through this small amount of time that we've been doing these rallies is that each time we come together, we strengthen our bonds with one another. And then we also have a chance to spring hope. I did not know Aria before the first day of the event, but I've got to see her become a beautiful woman, a brave woman, a strong woman, and she's been able to speak a lot more. We all noticed it. And Williamsburg, if you're listening to this, and you are looking for a sign for hope, right here's your hope. There are people like you in the surrounding area that wants you to join in. I know it's scary, and I know it's hard, and it's not the easy choice to step out for what you believe in or be who you are. But it is okay, and you will have support, and you will have people who love you, and you will have people to back up, and you'll learn that once you step up for what you believe in, it cares less about what the world thinks, about what the politicians or what your neighbors think. You know, I grew up in a Pentecostal church where everything about me was policed. And I couldn't even have my own thoughts. To the point to where when I came out, it was so hard for me to even wear it. I already knew I wasn't allowed in those churches, but it's so hard for me to break out of my shell to wear what I want to wear and speak what I want to speak. But now I'm able to, and I'm using that even when it's hard, because I know that if I don't speak it, somebody else will not. And I want to make sure people are hearing that you can be loved the way you are. You don't have to conform because a pastor or a preacher or a politician or a mom or a dad says so. Be happy, be you, live your life, and let's fight for a good cause.
Sarah, I'm so proud of you. So proud of you, baby.